There will be no pause, no warning shot, no waiting for backroom diplomacy to catch up. That is the message coming out of Tehran. Iran is drawing a red line, and this time it says there will be no delay in crossing it. Speaking on state television, Iranian army spokesman Brigadier General Mohammad Akraminia issued one of the clearest and most forceful warnings yet to the United States and Israel. Any new act of aggression against Iran will be met with immediate retaliation, real time, real force, no hesitation. His words were blunt, cold, deliberate. Iran, he said, has changed its rules of engagement. The lesson of June's 12-day war has been learned, and hesitation is now considered a strategic failure. If the enemy makes another foolish move, Akraminia warned, the response will be instant. No more waiting, no more calculating international reaction, no more giving the enemy time to breathe. According to Iran's military leadership, that delay, that hesitation, was the one thing they will never repeat. The June war, as Tehran frames it, was supposed to be quick, a lightning strike, a shock operation. Washington and Tel Aviv, Iranian officials claim, believed Iran was vulnerable, still reeling from regional pressure, internal strain, and the aftermath of Operation Al-Aqsa Storm. They believed chaos would follow, that unrest would erupt, that Iran would fracture. Instead, Iran says the opposite happened. The strikes did not collapse the state. They did not fracture society. They did not break Iran's command structure. They hardened it. National unity, Akraminia claimed, grew stronger, and the operation meant to shock Iran into submission became, according to Tehran, a strategic failure. This, he said, was the American miscalculation. Akraminia reserved particular criticism for the United States under President Donald Trump, describing Washington's behavior as erratic, impulsive, and rooted in outdated ideas of coercion. With Trump's America, he said, nothing is predictable. He accused the U.S. president of seeking Iran's surrender during the conflict, only to reverse course once Iran's deterrent power became impossible to ignore. The war, he claimed, didn't end because Iran backed down. It ended because Iran forced a ceasefire. And now, Akraminia says, any belief in a limited or symbolic strike is pure fantasy. This, he said, is not a war where the U.S. president orders an operation and 2 hours later tweets that it's over. No 2-hour war. Such thinking, Iran warns, would ignite a fire that spreads far beyond Iran's borders, engulfing the entire West Asia region. Behind the rhetoric is something more concrete and more dangerous. Iran says the plans are already written, the orders already issued, the scenarios already mapped. Different attacks, different responses, but one rule applies to all of them. Even the smallest strike will be answered. If we are hit even slightly, Akraminia said, we will respond, and that response, he warned, may not be desirable for the United States. This is where the warning widens. Iran makes it clear, any future conflict will not be confined to one battlefield or one country. The geography of war, Tehran says, would stretch across the entire region, from Israel itself to every country hosting American bases. Those bases, Akraminia emphasized, are fully within Iran's strike envelope. Missiles, drones, semi-heavy weapons, even U.S. naval assets, including aircraft carriers, are not immune. Aircraft carriers are important tools, he said, but they are vulnerable, including to Iran's much-advertised missile and hypersonic capabilities. The message is unmistakable. There will be no safe distance. Iran also claims the 12-day war dramatically increased its military readiness. Air defenses damaged in the fighting, Akraminia says, were repaired or replaced at speed. New systems were introduced. New measures rolled out across the Air Force, Navy, ground forces, and air defense units. This was not a moment of shock, he insisted, but a moment of learning. Iran's intelligence expected an Israeli attack. What it did not expect, he said, was the scale. Still, the outcome, in Tehran's telling, validated Iran's deterrence strategy. Akraminia also pointed to the role of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, praising what he called decisive leadership during the conflict. Commanders were appointed immediately, messages delivered directly. The narrative of the war, he said, were shaped at the highest level. But beyond strategy and weapons, Akraminia emphasized something else: will, morale, motivation, resolve. He said Iranian soldiers, both the regular army and the IRGC, stood ready to fight until their last breath. And if war is imposed again, he warned, they are prepared to avenge those killed in June. Iran, he concluded, is a people's army, formed from the nation, tasked with defending it. Deterrence, he said, is no longer optional, and the battlefield is no longer just physical. There is cognitive war, psychological war, narrative war. When diplomacy ends, the soldier's work begins. And now, Iran insists, that soldier is already on alert. No 2-hour war, no miscalculation forgiven, no delay. That is the warning. Whether anyone is listening may determine what comes next. Meanwhile, U.S. claims that Iran has all options to make a deal.
We're spending a tremendous amount of time and effort on building our military. We largely rebuilt the military during my first term, fortunately, and we're greatly enhancing it now. We're going to be doing something new. We're bringing back the battleship, and I thought, like you remember the battleships from the great Iowa and Alabama, Missouri, those unbelievable scenes that you see, Victory at Sea, you'd see these incredible ships, and I thought they were powerful, but the battleships that we're building are going to be 100 times more powerful than those beautiful works of art. I mean, they were magnificent, all steel. We have the steel now, and we're going to be doing that as an enhancement. But our military is very strong. You may want to say something about the large fleet of ships that's heading over to the Middle East.
Well, Mr. President, you had to, like so many other cabinet members have referenced, rebuild the perception of America. And at the Department of War, that meant reestablishing deterrence. What happened in Afghanistan, what happened in Ukraine, a war that never would have occurred, what happened on October 7th in Israel, never would have happened under President Trump. So as a result, we're having to rebuild how our enemies perceive us. And when President Trump said, we're not getting Iran, you won't have a nuclear bomb, he meant it. And we sent those B-2s halfway around the world, and they never noticed. When he said, we're not going to tolerate trafficking drugs anymore in our hemisphere, we treat them like the Al-Qaeda of the Western Hemisphere, he meant it, and we're executing that. When you said, Mr. President, we're securing the border, the military was proud to do their part alongside Homeland Security to do that. Same thing with Iran right now, ensuring that they have all the options to make a deal. They should not pursue nuclear capabilities. We will be prepared to deliver whatever this president expects of the War Department, just like we did this month. No other military in the world could have executed the most sophisticated, powerful raid, not just in American history, I would say in world history. What those men did, going downtown, another country, the most secure place in the most secure base in the middle of the night, without anybody knowing until those simultaneous bombs dropped 3 minutes before the helicopters dropped. No other country could coordinate that. No other president would have been willing to empower those warriors that way to be that effective. And that sends a message to every capital around the world that when President Trump speaks, he means business, and we are reestablishing deterrence at the War Department, Mr. President.
Thank you.